Morning, everyone. Super humid out this morning, so I apologize. My windows are down. This car I'm driving doesn't have AC. So, I was just contemplating the fig tree prophecy, which is the fact that the world cannot go past 2028 based on the fig tree prophecy timeline, meaning that if Israel became a nation again in 1948, that generation won't die until Christ returns, meaning that Christ is going to return in 2028. And there's a lot of things that you would think that would need to happen before then, but because we live in America, which is Mystery Babylon, and Mystery Babylon has not fallen yet, that doesn't mean that it can't fall, and it doesn't mean that it won't fall quickly, because it says it falls in like 1 hour or whatever, and you're like, how could that happen? And just think about like what 1 hour would be if it was literal, fine, but let's say that Babylon falls in 1 hour, but if you're like thinking about also like the biblical timelines, a day is as 1,000 years, and how fast it would be for like if a day according to God is 1,000 years, well, how much of like our time would be 1 hour according to heavenly time, things like that. So I think that way. And so if you're thinking about like a Red Dawn type scenario where America would be attacked, and you know, we just had the Iranian guy that came across the border in Mexico, and he's like, soon you'll know who I am. Like, those types of threats, I don't think that they're very... I think that those threats get put on the news on purpose because people like Obama, who's the Antichrist, and a Muslim Antichrist, want you to see the people that are going to be in power in America, running the FEMA camps, running this type of stuff. And you can say, oh, that would never happen. Like, America has too many guns and stuff like that. That doesn't mean that it can't still fall. It doesn't mean that. And in fact, if you look at the depravity here, if you look at the state of the health of the people that live here, most people are just out of shape, and they stay in their homes and they don't go out anymore. And all it would take would be for God to whistle, like he says he's going to do, and call all the nations to America to fight against us. There's so many countries that hate us right now, and the tariffs are just one reason why they currently hate us, because they're not making any money. And it says that when America is destroyed, that all the people that are in ships will look at America as it's burning and be like, oh my gosh, I used to make all my money there. Like, and that's what it says, like, paraphrasing, you know? So, we already had Trump make the Abrahamic Accord, which is basically uniting, like, all the Muslim nations in the Middle East. And if all of a sudden the dollar's gone and they're all gonna link up again, and they're basically gonna be like, all right, let's go against America. Let's take all of their stuff and take all their gold and their wealth and their money and power and everything, and start a new city in a new place or whatever, somewhere else. And you know, they have these cities like Neom and these places in like Kazakhstan and other countries and stuff that they could, you know, easily just bypass the U.S. and never use us again for anything. And once we're destroyed, they won't need to. And that would probably be easier if the dollar falls, and the dollar's falling right now. And it's almost like I said, that crack I had in my windshield showing the downward decline of our current state, and then a flat line at the bottom, and then all of a sudden there's like, you know, in the Bible when Michael throws the comet against the earth. And I mean, these things are shown in movies like The Core, Armageddon, Deep Impact. Like, they show a meteor hitting the earth and a tsunami coming and destroying all the coastal places. Never mind the, you know, future Navy maps where they have had for a long time on Google that, you know, Florida's gone, California's gone, I mean, the inventors of Google moved to Wyoming because it's 8,000 feet above sea level. They didn't do that for no reason. So you have to think of like the Fifth Wave type stuff, the movie where like there's an earthquake, then there's tsunamis, then there's eventually alien invasion, where they say that we're the bad guys, but we're really not the bad guys. So they're saying humans are the bad guys, but we're really just the survivors that are left, which is what they're going to do anyway. And bringing this all up because in one of my videos I showed a building I pass on my way to where I'm going right now, where there's a tank that is breaking through a brick wall, and it's the museum in Wolfboro, New Hampshire, that celebrates the memorial of World War II veterans. And the other day, as I was this is very rare to see this, but back in the day they used to have them more often, but now they're very hard to find. But they have people, because of Arnold Schwarzenegger importing the H2 for domestic purposes, the Hummer, we now have Hummers that you can buy at like police auctions and stuff like that. And most of them are green, but sometimes you'll find like a black one. And the other day when I was passing that museum with the tank, going through, only a half a mile ahead of me was a black Humvee, an H2 Hummer with like the truck bed kind, and it was all blacked out, and you don't see them very often. And it was just rare that I would see that, never mind it going past the World War II museum. And in my mind, the first thing I thought of was that prophecy on the Prophecy Club of Ken Peters, when he said that he had a vision when he wasn't a Christian, and now he is a Christian that preaches the gospel, but at the time he wasn't. He didn't even have a Bible in his house, and he had a vision of some type of catastrophe in America. And then after the catastrophe, there was about 3 or 4 months where people were preaching in the streets, and then all of a sudden there was all these black H2 Hummers everywhere, and some force had taken over America, and they were rounding up Christians and putting them in FEMA camps. And then the people that were rounded up that refused to take the mark, they had their heads chopped off by a giant 7 or 8 foot dude that had a scimitar, which is the sword that is on the hat, the fez hat, which Shriners have on their hat. And I said before that the pharaoh that's on that is Obama. And this is seen in the movie I Pet Goat 3. And so, according to the fig tree prophecy, it matches I Pet Goat 3, because they show like a man that takes like a, thing that looks like the World Trade Center building, and after they take this thing, then 3 years later or whatever, something happens to all these people, basically like in the show Lazarus, where they take a pill, and then all of a sudden the inventor of the pill tells everybody that he's the seventh trumpeter, and everybody's going to die in 3 years because they took this pill that makes you not feel pain anymore. And so this group of 5 kids, interestingly it's 5 kids, it's always 5 because that's the points of the star for the Masonic order, which is Luciferianism. And since Cowboy Bebop, and since all of that, creator of that dude shows, some of the titles of Cowboy Bebop are like Fallen Angels, the Sympathy for the Devil, like all these different things. In fact, the opening music credits for Lazarus, when the first character breaks out of prison, the music that the one of the characters says, "I want you to play a certain song," is, he says, "Play me a song of a man that's sad because he sold his soul to the devil," and then it goes on to play a song about that. And so you could say, oh, the creator has likes to play off of the paradigms between good and evil. Okay, well, why is it that good and evil and good and bad always have to be between God and Satan? Because that's the war that we fight. It's just that people don't want to admit that that's true, because then they'd have to come face to face with their own sins. And when you come face to face with your own sins, how do you get away from that? How do you fight that? How do you combat the fact that someday you're going to die and you're going to stand before someone, a being that is bigger than you and made you for a purpose to worship him every day, but you don't worship him every day. Only the animals worship him every day. Only the angels worship him every day. Only the demons worship him every day, which is in the testament of Adam. But you don't do that, because you are the only creature alive that has the choice to choose between good and evil. So why would you choose evil when Satan has already lost? he admitted in his own words with death that Jesus, when he was coming down, was God himself, because Lazarus flew out of the underworld like an eagle. And now we have an anime called Lazarus, which means that they are trying to bring people back from the dead who are cursed because they took a pill. And what do you think this is mirroring? It's mirroring our current day situation, where according to the fig tree prophecy in 2021, right as there was some worldwide pandemic, people chose to do something, and now we are in 2025, and there are people dropping dead left and right. And even the king's best friend, who supposedly had a bee that went into his mouth and stung him and went into cardiac arrest. You don't think that's a little strange that a bee would do that? Okay, fine. Maybe the dude was super evil because he's friends with the king, and maybe he did some evil stuff, and God allowed a bee to go into his throat and he choked up and he died. Possible. God loves bees. They're his favorite insect. But I don't think that is the case. I think that they're covering it up because it's something they don't want to admit that happened, because a Food Network star just died recently, cardiac arrest. There's literally medications out there right now for heart palpitation problems and problems with your heart. If you go through Manchester, New Hampshire, where I live, there's billboards everywhere that say, come to CMC. We have the best Catholic Medical Center. We have the best cardiac arrest unit in the area or something like that. I've never seen signs like that. I've never seen signs for cardiac arrest in my whole life, ever. And it's not an ad for just old people. It's for young people too. So why are young people all of a sudden dying? Why are 6 different athletes recently just dropping dead from cardiac arrest that are runners? Runners are supposed to be if I went for a mile hike right now, I might actually have cardiac arrest because I'm fat. I'm not fat, but I'm 235 pounds, and I'm probably supposed to be 180, I look decently muscular because I work, do construction every day, but really I have a pretty good amount of fat I probably shouldn't have, and yeah, I could probably die if I ran a mile. But these people are runners and they're dying. That doesn't make any sense. They're supposed to be the fittest of us and they're dying. How does that make any sense? You want to know what? It doesn't. It doesn't make sense at all. And people need to think about that we are in the last days and we don't have a lot of time left of the world. They say that America, if we lost power, we would run out of all water, all fresh water, potable water. We would run out of it in a month because of all the rivers that are dammed up, because of hydroelectric plants and things like that they've diverted the water and things. Did you know that recently, Nashua, New Hampshire, because of the Pennachuck water treatment, whatever, the water systems that are in Nashua, New Hampshire, which is flooded, almost half of Nashua, New Hampshire is Asian people. Who knows how many of those people are willing citizens or that are Asian spies? Because recently a water plant or something like that was purchased for what should have been $15 million, was purchased for $60 million or something like that. And so people looked into it and they're like, why would they pay 4 times the price for the water? It's because China is using the people's tap water to create a bottling plant. They're using our own water. A foreign country is using our own natural water to benefit and profit off of it in our country. Do you think that would fly if we went to China and bought a water bottling plant and then started selling American water? No, it would never fly. But that's the type of stuff that supposedly Trump is stopping, but he's not. What he's doing is he's setting everything up for the Antichrist, who will have a Chinese and a Muslim army. The Antichrist will have all of the Muslims on his side and all of the Chinese army on his side, because it will be a dragon army and it will be a Muslim army, according to the fact that Islam and the Shriners are friends. secretly. Because why? Because they all want to kill Christians. So if you really think about how many Christians are in America, and then you ask yourself how many of them are actually practicing good, kind-hearted, loving Christians that would die for Jesus Christ, there's very few. So what's going to happen is the Christians are going to have to make a choice. Do you really, really stand up for God, or were you just faking it in churchianity type living it? And then you're going to see a lot of people that are going to see the true Christians starting to die for their faith. And then you're going to find a lot of people like you find in the time of Jesus, where Pilate became a Christian. Gamaliel, the brother of Nicodemus, became a Christian because they started seeing Jesus' miracles come to pass. And so you're going to start seeing a lot of miracles happen and a lot of things that are unexplainable happen as there's world wars, as the volcanoes are going off, which is happening right now, as you're seeing these earthquakes take out entire areas like California, as you start seeing supposed fallen angel aliens landing, like they're not aliens, they're fallen angels and demons. If you start seeing them land, because they've actually partnered with the U.S. government to create spaceships that are real, that are going to destroy certain parts of the world, and then people are going to be like, oh, it's aliens. But aliens don't come from space because you can't escape the dome, so they come from the ocean, because we don't explore the ocean because that's where they live, because it says it in the Testament of Solomon. So why would you need to read the books they removed from the Bible? So you know all this. You need to read Enoch, the Testament of Solomon, the Ascension of Isaiah, the Infancy Gospels, the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of books that they took out, which, according to 2nd Ezra, is part of the Apocrypha, which means hidden. Jesus said, to him who overcomes religion, I will give to eat of the hidden manna, the Apocrypha manna, the Apocrypha bread from heaven. The hidden bread from heaven I will give to him who overcomes. That's what it says. And it's not that hard to figure out what I just said. It's literally not that hard. It's just that you have to care about what I'm saying. You have to care that Jesus set aside certain books for the wise alone. And are you wise enough? Are you considered wise? Or are you like the people that are on TV, on YouTube, that are just like, buy my t-shirt, buy my sweatshirt, buy my stuff, because we're giving all the money to the poor? Do we really know if they are? I mean, are they? I don't know. I didn't see them give anything. I don't know. How about you give to the poor in spirit? How about you read the books out loud to the poor in spirit and give the spiritual food to those people, because they're dying spiritually and they don't understand that there's things that have been reserved for certain people. It says it in 2nd Ezra that people in the future are going to praise the fact that they found the books that were reserved for the wise only, which is the book of Enoch, which is Jubilees, Jasher, like Ascension of Isaiah, where Jesus actually is told by God to go down to the earth to save mankind, and then go all the way down to the underworld to save the saints, from Adam to the thief on the cross. And then when Jesus was 3 years old going into Egypt, he says to Mary, after one of the thief that was good on the cross next to him, the one that was allowed to go into heaven, that thief saved Joseph, Mary, and Jesus when he was little. And Jesus is 3 talking to Mary and says, this dude's gonna be next to me, and he's gonna be saved when I die on the cross in 30 years. Jesus prophesied at 3 years old that he would be killed on a cross. Then Jesus is actually taken to a teacher of the law in Israel, and not, every single teacher that tried to teach Jesus couldn't, because he was smarter than all of them. But he's 5 years old. 2 years after he prophesied about that, the thief on the cross, then he's telling the teacher, like, all these things that the teacher had no idea how to fathom, that this little kid could know all this stuff. And the dude's like, I think that this kid was born before Noah. He's got to be from somewhere else. And to be honest, I think that he should be killed on a cross, because he's speaking things that are like insane. Like, how could he know all this? It's kind of creepy. So he was saying that this little boy should be killed on a cross because he was saying all these amazing things. Why would a Jewish elder say to kill a 5-year-old on a cross, prophesying of it. Because it's a weird thing to say. Like, I would never say that. I would never say murder a little 5-year-old. Like, why would you want to do that? Just put him in, like, little baby jail or something. Why would you want to murder this little kid? You know what I mean? It's just a weird thing to say. But the way that it's said, it's like, yeah, that's kind of how they were. They were strict to, like, an evil point. Their carnal hearts and minds is shown right there, and that's the reason why they thought that you shouldn't eat shrimp when it wasn't talking about shrimp or shellfish. It was talking about the fact that you, like, there are certain human beings that will never come to the surface of the light of God, like these bottom-dwelling fish. Not that you shouldn't eat shellfish. It's talking about a metaphoric language that is teaching you through animals what humans are like the birds of prey, that those are like people that are thieves that don't actually go and work for it. They just take whatever's left over from other people and steal from other people. And then they have the animal that has the cloven hoof, because the animal with the cloven hoof, when it comes up to you, you feed it and it, like, acknowledges that you fed it. That's Jesus feeding us, and then we acknowledge that he fed us with the word. That's the same thing. It's like it's God showing you a language that in any different place you go, you could teach it, because everybody understands these things. They all understand water. They all understand farming type stuff, because most people, aside from technology, were farmers at one point. And especially if the whole world gets EMP'd, then we're all going to be farming. And we're all going to have to survive on whatever animals are left and stuff like that. So God, in his infinite wisdom, chose a metaphoric language that every language can understand, because through the changing of the languages, because of Nimrod's evil, God bypassed it and went to a metaphoric language, in essence. And then he also used 2 pictographic languages to spread the gospel throughout the world. One was Hebrew and one was English. So everybody's always saying, well, English is evil because it's spelling and there's spells. Yeah, okay, fine. But God is the one who chose everything that you see. There's nothing that happens without him giving the okay to it. And you might be like, well, does he allow babies to be aborted? Well, obviously, he doesn't want people to abort their babies, but there's an angel that takes care of the babies when they go to heaven and they go to this angelic playground and everything's made out of gold. So yeah, you murdered it here in this suffering world, but then it goes to a better place, and then it's with Jesus forever, and you messed up, and then whoever did the abortion is going to get punished for it in a way that you cannot imagine. And it's in the super gospel at the end, and it sucks, and it's disgusting, but it's deserving. If you want to murder an innocent child, that's your punishment, both for the man and for the woman. And it all has to do with you getting tortured through your genitals. So I would advise to not get an abortion. Never mind the fact you're murdering a little baby that never even got the chance to spit in your face or anything. Like, it never did nothing to you. Like, why would you murder it and rip its arms and legs off? And disgusting things they do during abortions. Or suck it out through a vacuum. It's even worse. And all these things I'm saying were taught by the fallen angels in the beginning, which is in the book of Enoch, which is why you should read it. Probably shouldn't do things that the fallen angels are the ones that said to do. Anyways, guys, I'm at work. Just ramblings of an old man. God bless you all, and have a great day.